Let's head over to the phones. Been a while since we've spent some time with Doug Truax, founder, executive director of Restoration PAC and Restoration Action. West Point Army Ranger School grad, Army veteran, successful healthcare entrepreneur, nearly pulled off a huge upset running as a political newcomer in the GOP primary for the Senate in 2014. We liked him. We enjoyed talking to him. He's on the line right now. Doug, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for taking time out of your morning for us. Boy, this new ad you got running up in Wisconsin got some people talking.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really effective. The results so far have been great. You know, that's we just have to get attention on this deal because it's a terrible one. And I tell you what, somebody's got to hold people accountable, especially if it goes through. These senators that are going to vote yes on this deal need to be held accountable in this next election. So there's that. And if we can, head it off at the pass and make sure it doesn't happen, then we're going to do that as well. But I think that ad's going to be, people need to know the facts. It's a very fact-based ad. Iran's the number one state sponsor of terror. That catastrophic quote at the end, all those things that make people go, I don't know much about this. I keep hearing about it, but now that I know these things about Iran and what they're up to, I don't support this, and that's what we're trying to get done.
Doug, we've got the audio of the ad that's running in Wisconsin from Restoration PAC, supporting Ron Johnson's leadership on the issue of Iran and the proposed deal. Here's the new ad.
In dangerous times, the American people deserve the facts. Iran is the number one state sponsor of terrorism in the world. Iran even played a role in helping the 9/11 killers. And Iran's radical Islamist leaders have made it clear the worst is yet to come. Iran is funding terrorism not just in the Middle East, but in Africa, Asia, South America, and right here in the United States. Some of our leaders, like Ron Johnson, understand that preventing Iran from getting the bomb is essential to our safety. Others, like President Obama, insist on signing a toothless agreement that makes us less safe. Economist Thomas Sowell said, clearing the way for Iran to get nuclear bombs could be the most catastrophic decision in human history. Ron Johnson understands this. Visit RestorationPAC.com to support Johnson and leaders like him who will work to keep America safe. Restoration PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Now, Doug Truax, you can't coordinate with the candidate. Certainly, there are rules against that. So this was a decision on your part and Restoration PAC's part to get involved in this Wisconsin race. Why?
Well, we see the landscape going forward is crucial for the Senate because, chances are we're going to hold the House. And I feel good about our opportunity to get in a Republican president. So the Senate is the real key pivotal area going into this next election. And there's really 4 states that are key right now as far as we see it. That's Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, and North Carolina. And so those are all Senate incumbents that are Republican incumbents that are up for re-election. And if they can hold on to their seats in those states, then it's a very difficult electoral map for Hillary to accomplish, the task of getting in the White House. So it's kind of a two-pronged approach, a 2-for-1 deal, and so we're starting off in Wisconsin, and we're shopping that ad around. We're getting to a place where we're raising more money to run that ad longer, and then also shopping it around in some of those other states to see if we can support those candidates as well.
Doug, have we heard anything as far as a comment from Russ Feingold on this spot?
Yeah, you'd think. It's typical, liberal media. Nobody's even asking him how he feels about the Iran deal. And it's like the most, people don't, especially in the left, they don't understand the consequences of what we're talking about here. And this is a major, major issue for the future of our country and frankly for the future of our kids because this is more weakness that's going to lead to conflict. And, I personally, my boys are 18 and 17, and I got a 15-year-old daughter, but my boys are talking about going into the Army and different things like that. And, this is serious long-term ramifications for all of us. And so it's personal for me, but I also think that people should be, whether you're on the right or the left or whatever you call yourself, just stand up and say, hey, should we look into this some more? And why are we cutting a deal with these guys who are the number one state sponsor of terror? Wouldn't they be just willing to take a nuclear weapon, and if they could get away with it, give it to a terrorist group who would do, God knows what with it against us or against Israel or anybody else. And this is, the other thing too, people don't realize that if a nuclear weapon gets cooked off in the Middle East, we're in for a worldwide economic depression. And just from the supply lines alone that go into Africa, there are probably 2 to 3 million Africans that die in the first year because of that. I mean, it's all these things that are massive, and I feel like what Obama's doing and Kerry, they're just pushing along, trying to get their legacy solidified and say they got some deal. And you would think that at the very least, the media would be asking a guy like Russ Feingold, who wants to be the senator from Wisconsin again, how do you feel about it? But they're not even doing that, and it's really pathetic.
Doug Truax is with us. RestorationPAC.com is where you can see the ad and find out a little bit more about what Doug's up to. He ran in the Republican primary for Senate in 2014, nearly won. If he would have won, he would have taken on Senator Dick Durbin, who was looking for re-election. He won. He tells the Washington Post he will be aggressively pushing for the Iran deal, talking to colleagues, trying to flip some votes if needed. One of the arguments, Doug, on the Iran deal is that there is no alternative. You support the deal or you want war now. In fact, in the interview that Dick Durbin gave to the Post, he was asked about that. Durbin said, quote, "There's no alternative to this agreement. If for some reason it does not go through and Iran closes the doors on their development of nuclear weapon, how could any nation or Israel feel any safer?" What are the alternatives to saying yes to a really bad deal?
Yeah, that's just typical liberal, there's only two ways. And if you're against us, then you're for war. And, the thing that people need to understand is that the sanctions were working. And it was keeping the pressure on. And we are the largest financial powerhouse in the world. And when it comes just to financial sanctions alone, we can do so much. But, they were starting to work, and Obama was selectively letting countries like Japan trade with Iran. And so he was, while he was, quote-unquote, maintaining the sanctions, he really wasn't. He was actually helping them avoid some of them. So he was sustaining them, and then he got to this point and said, well, it's not working. Well, it's not working because you're not committed to it. And all of leadership is about commitment. And Obama's only committed to one thing as far as I can tell, and that's himself. And if he doesn't want to commit to holding the sanctions on the Iranians, then of course it's not going to work for long term. But this concept of there's either war or give them a bomb is just ridiculous, and that's the kind of reason that I wanted to get Dick Durbin out of there, because the guy it's just painful to hear him. I can't believe he talks that way, but they all do, and they're just pushing the president's agenda. This is Obamacare for foreign policy, and it's a terrible idea, and we got to keep pushing back as hard as we can, and that's what I'm doing.
And Doug, you bring up an excellent point as well, because the way things were stacked up before, with the sanctions fully in place and the way we had it, they were the ones who wanted to come to the bargaining table. We held all the cards as far as this went, but somehow somebody spun the table around and we didn't have any cards at the end. That's right.
And it should have been increase the sanctions, and then they come to us and they say, okay, and then we say to them, okay, first give us those 4 hostages back. And then when they do that, and then we say, then we talk to you. And there's all these things we could have done, but again, it's not. It's the some of this is just, I think, the Obama worldview. He's got in his mind, I think, that he can triangulate all these forces in the Middle East and put the Iranians against some of the Sunni extremists and different things like that, and he can not lead. He can just kind of set it up, and it'll be okay. But man, he's trusting in so much goodwill down the road from so many bad actors that have not shown goodwill in so many ways, and it's setting us up for more and more conflict as we go forward. I mean, if you're the Saudis, the first thing you want to do is get a nuclear weapon. It's like a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, and we're kicking it off by letting the #1 state sponsor of terror get a nuclear weapon. It's insane.
Doug Truax with us, Restoration PAC, RestorationPAC.com. It's Riley and Scott on WROK. You can see the Restoration PAC ad in Wisconsin, running in Wisconsin. It's also on there, the website. You mentioned, Doug, that you're thinking about potentially getting involved in other states, too, where there are competitive Senate races, seeing if there's support to put the ad up in other states. Here in Illinois, we have a competitive race in 2016. Mark Kirk is not a perfect conservative. In fact, he would describe himself as a moderate on most issues, I would say. But on foreign policy and on Iran, he's been he's been standing tall. Is Illinois one of the states Restoration PAC might get involved?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think, we formed the PAC in January. And so this was the first phase of getting things moving. Okay, what are we going to do first? And some of this is just, obviously pure timing with, one, starting the PAC, and then two, this deal coming to fruition right in front of us. And so it gave us that quick focus on those 4 states. But yeah, certainly as we go forward and do more and different things as we head into the actual, the primaries and the general and everything, we'd certainly be open to doing whatever made the most sense at the right time. So yeah.
He's Doug Truax. You want to go to the site, restorationpac.com, restorationpac.com, and learn a whole lot more about what they have going on. Doug, as always, thanks for taking time out of your morning for us.
Of course. Thanks for having me on, guys. Good to talk to you.
Have a great one.